Hi, today I will show you how I deal with assembly of FPV quadrocopter. The list of most parts you can find in the description of this video. The difficulty of assembly I can rate as simple, but it's really time consuming. It shouldn't be a problem for anyone. Furthermore, it's not a problem in these days to find tutorial videos on the internet or YouTube, which could be really helpful during assembly process. So let's start. The first step was to check video transmission. After connecting everything using crocodile clip wires, I received good and clean image on FPV Google. After that I started assembling the frame of the quadrocopter. I used GEPRC Mark II frame kit. I was really happy that the kit contained not only the frame, but also parts like velcro tape to hold the battery pack and camera on the right position, covers for the receiver antenna, and much more. During assembly I'm mainly based on the manual attached to the kit and on the photos from the internet. Very important was to secure the screw with the special glue which will prevent unscrewing by vibration during flight. To do this I use Loctite glue. After around 40 minutes the frame was done, and you must believe me, it's look amazing. As the power distribution board, I decide to use this one from Matek. Later I will connect it with the flight controller to limit the number of the cables. I put the plastic cover under PDB board to get some extra protection. To lock the PDB board and to protect the flight controller from the vibration, FC package contain a special nuts with rubber isolation. I will use them, but now for soldering process I replace them with normal ones. Before mounting next parts, the really important thing was to assume proper placement and direction of rotation for all motors. During that I had to consider the influence of rotated PDB board to all motors. I only need to remember that signal wire should be connected to the next counterclockwise motor. As motor I choose the Emax RS2205S 2200 kV. All motors arrived in nice boxes. Beside motors there were also screws in two different lengths and proper Allen key to screw everything together. Few people on YouTube suggest to use special anti-vibration rubber and put it between motors and the frame, so I decided to do the same. I clean the surface and put the sticker on it. Unfortunately, the stickers were too big for my frame, so the next step was to use sharp knife and softly cut it a little bit. After these few steps, it's time to screw the motor. As always, the use of Loctite glue was recommended for the operation. Next step were to find a good place for the ESC driver. I cut all wires to the required length and strip isolation from them. Before connecting all together, I use tin to prepare pads and cables. And now was the time to connect everything to each other. There wasn't needed to check direction of rotation. All will be corrected by special programs during configuration. After repeating that operation 3 more times, and after use some electrical tape to secure the ESC driver in the right position, the time has come to connect ESC to the power distribution board. And again, I cut power supply cables to the right length, stripped off the isolation on the end, and soldered them to the power distribution board on the right path, of course, after right preparation of the paths and the cables. The last two cables were signal wires, used to control rotation speed of the motor. One of them, signed as ground, I soldered to the common 0 path, and the signal wire to the signal path of the motor, so this one on the right, all because I managed to rotate PDB board. When all was done, I could take next step and solder battery connector. It doesn't look great, but should work. Now it's time to assemble FPV camera. I screw it up to the frame, plug the connector into socket, cut the wires into right length, and solder them to the power supply pads on the PDB board. Very hard decision was to decide where I should place the video transmitter. After all, I decided to use double-sided tape and place it to the top plate of the frame. For extra protect, I use small zip ties. After soldering VTX to power supply, I needed to place the control RC receiver. The last free spot was on the back on the bottom plate. And again, I will use double-sided tape and extra zip ties to install in the right place. But not now, I will do it later. Now is time for the most important part, the flight controller. I connected it with the PDB board with special tape. Unfortunately, after connecting it to the USB, I noticed that I make a mistake and use wrong side of the tape. For the end of assembling process were left work such as cable management, placing anti-slipping mat for the battery, screw all together and mounting cover for the receiver antennas. and after a few hours of configuring my quad in Betafly and BL Heli, I can finally go fly.